The arrival of the beast. The sun hung low over the Galactic Academy, turning the training grounds a shade of burnt orange. Cadets from every corner of the galaxy gathered near the large steel gates, whispering and waiting. Something big was coming. Today, something none of them wanted to face. The air felt heavy. Even the instructors standing by the gate looked uneasy. A transport ship landed with a deep, rumbling growl. Dust filled the air as the ship's engines powered down. The side doors opened with a hiss, and 4 armed guards stepped out, there. Faces tense, their weapons ready. Behind them, a huge metal cage rolled down the ramp. Inside it, a beast paced restlessly. Its dark fur bristled, long sharp teeth flashing as it growled. Massive claws scraped against the bars, leaving deep marks. Its yellow eyes scanned the crowd, hungry, wild, and cruel. Some cadets stepped back, their faces pale. "What is that thing?" a young alien whispered. "I heard it's an apex predator from Varnuk 7, another replied. "It tore apart an entire squad of soldiers last month. No one's ever beaten one in a fight," a third added. The instructors raised their hands for silence. Commander Razik, tall and sharp-featured, stepped forward. His voice echoed across the grounds. "This creature is the most dangerous predator in this sector. Tomorrow, one of you will face it in the arena. A combat test to see what you've learned." The crowd murmured, fear spreading like wildfire. "No weapons," Razik added coldly. "Hand to claw. Survival depends on your skill alone." Cadets exchanged worried glances. None of them wanted to volunteer that far at the back of the crowd. A human girl named Kara stood quietly. She was smaller than most, wearing a simple academy uniform, her face calm. While others whispered and shifted nervously, Kara kept her eyes fixed on the beast. It growled at her, sensing something different. But Kara didn't flinch. She didn't look away. Instead, she smiled. Just a small, cold smile. Tarek, a young alien cadet standing nearby, noticed. He nudged his friend. "Look at her," he whispered. "The Deathworlder. She's not scared." His friend scoffed. "She'd be dead in 5 seconds if she faces that thing." Tarek wasn't so sure. He'd seen humans fight before. Quiet, fast, unpredictable. And he had heard stories about Deathworlders, species from the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. Planets like Earth, Kara's home. The beast let out a roar that shook the ground. Even the guards tightened their grips on their weapons. Screen nearby showed images of the beast's past kills. Broken bones, blood-soaked grounds. No one had lasted more than a minute against it. Razik spoke again. "This is a test of survival, strength, courage. Tomorrow at midday, the challenge begins." He turned sharply, and the cage was rolled toward a secure holding area. The crowd slowly broke apart, conversations low and nervous. "I'm not going anywhere near that arena," one cadet muttered. "Same," another agreed. Tarek watched Kara, curious. She hadn't moved an inch. He walked over. "You okay?" Kara didn't look at him. "It's slower than it looks," she said softly. Tarek blinked. "What?" "I can see its movement patterns. Left side is weak. It favors the right claw. Turn slower on its blind side." Tarek frowned. "You figured all that out just now?" Kara finally looked at him. "That thing might be an apex predator, but it bleeds." She walked away, leaving Tarek staring after her. Inside the command tower, Commander Razik watched a monitor showing Kara's face. An officer beside him asked, "Do you think she volunteer?" Razik smiled faintly. "She won't need to. The others will make sure it's her." The officer looked confused. "Why?" "Because fear makes cowards cruel. And cowards always throw their problems at the strongest one among them, whether they realize it or not." Outside, the academy grew quiet as night approached. The beast rested in its cage, its breathing deep and steady. And in her room, Kara cleaned a small combat knife, even though she wouldn't be allowed to carry it tomorrow. It wasn't for the fight. It was a reminder of who she was. Why no one in this galaxy should ever underestimate a Deathworlder. The challenge morning arrived faster than anyone wanted. A heavy mist hung over the training grounds, and the air felt cold and thick. The academy was quieter than usual. No one laughed. No one joked. Everyone knew what was coming. At the center of the grounds, the combat arena stood like a giant steel circle. Its gates were wide open, and the massive cage sat in the middle. Inside, the apex predator paced back and forth, its claws scraping against the metal floor, leaving deep marks. Its eyes burned like yellow fire. Cadets gathered in groups, standing far from the arena. The instructors were already there, faces serious. Commander Razik stood on a raised platform, arms crossed behind his back, watching everyone with sharp eyes. A large screen showed the time. The match would begin at exactly midday, 11:55. No one stepping forward. One cadet whispered, "I'm not going in there," another said quickly. Some cadets kept glancing toward Kara, standing at the edge of the crowd. She was calm, her face showing no fear. She watched the beast like a hunter watching its prey. Tarek stood beside her. "You're really going to do it, aren't you?" Kara didn't answer. At 11:58, Commander Razik's voice echoed across the U. "Field, step forward if you wish to prove your worth." The crowd stayed silent. No one moved. Even the bravest cadets kept their heads down. Razik smiled thinly. "Very well. If no one will volunteer, we will choose." That's when something strange happened. One by one, cadets started stepping back, but they all made sure not to block Kara's path. It was quiet but clear. No one wanted to face the beast, and no one wanted to be seen as a coward. So like cowards do, they left one person standing alone. Kara Tarek cursed under his breath. "They're feeding you to it." Kara's lips curled into a small, sharp smile. At 11:59, Razik gestured toward her. "You," he said, "step forward." Kara didn't hesitate. She walked calmly to the arena gate. Some cadets smirked, expecting a quick, brutal end. Others looked away, ashamed. A few wondered if she might actually survive a few seconds. Tarek watched with a knot in his stomach. He knew Kara was different. But no one beat an apex predator bear. Handed. The screen counted down 0 o'clock. A loud horn sounded. The gate clanged shut behind Kara. The beast roared. It was bigger up close. Its fur bristled, its claws glinting like polished blades. Muscles rippled beneath its skin as it circled Kara, low and fast. The entire academy held its breath. Kara didn't. Move. The timer on the screen started 0:01. The beast snarled, saliva dripping from its teeth. 00:30. It lunged, swiping a massive claw toward her head. Kara ducked smoothly, letting it pass inches from her face. 00:45. The cadets gasped. No one had ever dodged it before. Tarek felt his heart race. She's not just surviving. She's reading it. 1 o'clock. The beast roared and charged again. Kara sidestepped at the last second, her eyes never leaving its face. She was studying it. Its speed, its range, how it moved. The instructors exchanged uneasy looks. Even Commander Razik leaned forward. 01:30. The predator was getting frustrated. Its attacks became faster. Wilder. Kara stayed calm. At 2:01. Something changed. Kara smiled. Not a wide grin, not a laugh, just a small, cold, knowing smile. The cadets watching through the screen saw it. Why is she smiling? Someone whispered. Tarek single quotes, S. Eyes widened. He recognized that look. He'd seen it once before on a Deathworlder soldier years ago. It meant one thing. She's already won. The beast made one final, furious leap, claws outstretched, teeth bared. Kara didn't move until the last possible second. At 2:03, she twisted aside, grabbed the beast's extended limb, planted her foot, and drove her elbow into the back of its neck. A sickening crack echoed through the arena. The predator's eyes went wide. Its body hit the ground hard. At 2:04, the timer flashed. The apex predator was motionless. The entire academy was silent. No one spoke. No one cheered. Every single cadet, instructor, and officer stood frozen, staring at the human girl who had just done the impossible. Kara looked up toward the command platform, locking eyes with Razik. Then she spoke, her voice calm and steady. It was slower than I expected. She turned and walked out of the arena. The crowd parted as she passed. Tarek grinned. Deathworlders, he whispered, shaking his head. The hunt begins. The sun hung low in the sky, and the academy grounds were still in shock. The combat arena was being cleaned, but no one could forget what they had seen. The strongest apex predator brought to the academy, taken down by a small, quiet human girl in just over 2 minutes. No one had spoken to Kara since the fight. Some cadets looked away when she passed. Others stared in silence, unsure whether to fear her or respect her. Even the instructors kept their distance. But Kara wasn't bothered. She walked through the academy like nothing happened, her face calm, her steps steady. The ones who tried to act brave around her the day before now stayed far away. Tarek found her later near the edge of the training field. She was sitting alone, sharpening a small combat knife on a flat stone. You really did it, Tarek said, breaking the silence. Kara didn't look up. Wasn't as fast as I thought it would be. Tarek grinned, but there was still a hint of worry in his eyes. You know they're not done, right? You embarrassed them, the officers, the upper-class cadets. They won't let this go. I'm counting on it, Kara replied. Just then, a sharp voice cut through the air. Cadet Kara, report to Commander Razik's office immediately. Tarek frowned. See? Here it comes. Kara stood, wiped the blade clean, and slipped it back into her boot. I'll be fine. Without another word, she walked toward the command tower. Commander Razik's office was quiet. The large window overlooked the entire training grounds. Kara stood straight in front of his desk, her face expressionless. Razik stared at her for a long moment before speaking. You made a lot of enemies today, Deathworlder. I'm used to that, Kara said flatly. I expected you to last 10 seconds, maybe 15. But you didn't just survive. You humiliated the beast and every officer who believed it was unbeatable. I did what I was trained to do. Razik narrowed his eyes. And what was that? Win. The commander's lips tightened into a thin smile. Good answer. He turned, pressing a control panel. A screen lit up, showing a map of a remote world far beyond the Academy's borders. There's a place in the outer systems, Razik explained. A planet classified as a death world. We lost a colony there years ago. No one survived. Scouts reported strange activity in the ruins. Something still alive out there. He turned back to Kara. I'm sending a team to investigate. And you're going with them. Kara didn't hesitate. When do we leave? Tomorrow. Kara nodded. Be warned, Razik added. If you think yesterday's beast was dangerous. You haven't seen anything yet. Kara smiled. Good. Later that evening, word of the new mission spread through the Academy. Cadets whispered about it in the halls, the dining area, and the training yards. She's going to that cursed planet. Is she crazy? No one comes back from there. Tarek caught up to her again. "They're sending you to Gavernine," he said, his voice low. "You know what that place is, right?" The colony vanished. 30 soldiers dead. Whole forests filled with things worse than apex predators. Kara shrugged. "I've seen worse." "Not like this," Tarek insisted. "Even Deathworlders." "Avoid that planet." Kara gave him a steady look. "Then maybe it's time someone didn't." Tarek shook his head, a grin forming. "You're something else." "I know." That night, Kara packed her gear, simple supplies. Combat boots, a small med kit, a survival knife. She didn't need much. The best fighters carried more skill than tools. Outside, the night sky was clear. Stars stretched endlessly across the darkness. Kara stood by her window, staring at the distant galaxies. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't afraid. She was waiting. Waiting for the next challenge. Waiting to prove again what Deathworlders were made of. Not just strength. Not just speed. But a refusal to quit. A hunger to stand where others fell. And far away, on the ruined world of Gavernine, something in the shadows was watching the sky 2 waiting for her. The snap the dropship rumbled through the black sky, heading toward the cursed planet of Gavernine. Inside, 6 cadets sat in silence, strapped to their seats. The atmosphere was heavy. No one spoke much. Everyone knew what happened to the last team that landed here, except for Kara. She sat calmly. At the end of the row, her hands resting on her knees. Her face showed no fear, no nerves. Only quiet focus. Tarek sat nearby, glancing at her now and then. He still couldn't believe she volunteered for this. "You really don't get scared?" "Do you?" he finally asked. Kara gave a small shrug. "Fear wastes time." The pilot's voice crackled through the comm. "Touchdown in 2 minutes. Stay sharp. Movement detected near the landing zone." The cadets exchanged uneasy glances. Someone muttered, "Here we go." The dropship landed with a soft jolt. The back hatch opened, releasing them into the misty. Darkworld.GAV or -9 was worse than any of them imagined. Tall black trees stretched into the sky, their twisted branches moving without wind. The ground was soft and wet, covered in strange, pulsing plants. A foul smell hung in the air. Tarek swallowed hard. "I don't like this." "Good," Kara said, stepping ahead. "Means you'll stay alert." They moved as a group, weapons drawn. Though Kara carried no gun, Irozix. Orders, only a combat knife strapped to her thigh. 10 minutes in, the team's scanner officer called out. Movement, 2 o'clock. A dark shape darted between the trees. The group tensed, aiming their rifles. "Identify." The squad leader shouted. No response. Not another shape moved. Then another. "It's surrounding us," Tarek hissed. The cadets formed a tight circle, scanning the tree-line. Then the first creature stepped into view. It was huge, taller than any apex predator they'd seen. Thick, dark fur, long spiked limbs. Its mouth split open in a wide, jagged grin filled with sharp teeth. One of the cadets whispered, "What is that?" "I don't know," the leader said, raising his weapon. "Open fire." Blaster shots lit up the dark forest. The beast took the hits, but kept moving, fast and violent. It slammed into the nearest cadet, sending him flying into a tree with a crack. Another cadet screamed as claws tore through him. Tarek fired his rifle, heart pounding. "It's not going down." More creatures appeared. 4, 5. Too many. The squad began to panic. "Fall back. Back to the ship." The leader shouted. But the dropship had already taken off. They were trapped. Kara moved fast through the chaos, dodging between trees and beasts. While the others fired wildly, she stayed calm, watching how the creatures moved. And then she saw a 201. She smiled. The biggest beast charged at her, claws out. Everyone watching thought it was over, but Kara didn't run. She stepped aside at the last second, grabbed its thick arm, twisted it with sharp, brutal precision, and drove her palm into its elbow joint. A sickening snap filled the air. The beast howled, collapsing to the ground. At 2:04, it stopped moving. The other creatures hesitated. Kara stepped over the fallen predator, her eyes cold. "Who's next?" she whispered. The creatures backed away slowly, their savage hunger turning into wariness. Tarek, still breathing hard, stared at her. How did you do that?" Kara knelt beside the dead beast. Weak joint, bad balance. Same as the apex. Predator. She stood, turning toward the other cadets. "Stop wasting ammo. Aim for the joints. Break them." It was like someone flipped a switch. The remaining cadets adjusted their fire, targeting knees and elbows. One by one, the beasts began to fall. The forest quieted. When it was over, only 4 cadets remained standing. Kara, Tarek, and 2 others. They gathered in the clearing, panting. Tarek looked at Kara. "You saved us." "I told you," Kara said, wiping blood from her arm. "They bleed too." From somewhere above, the dropship finally circled back, seeing the fight was over. On board, Commander Razik watched through the cameras. An officer beside him muttered, "No one's supposed to survive on Gaver 9. Razik's eyes narrowed. "Unless they're a Deathworlder." As the dropship lowered to pick them up, Kara looked back once more at the dark forest. This wasn't over. Something bigger was still out there. And she would find it. The aftershock. The dropship lifted off from Gaver 9's cursed surface, carrying the 4 surviving cadets back toward the Galactic Academy. Inside the ship, no one spoke for several minutes. The air was thick with exhaustion, shock, and disbelief. Floor was smeared with blood, some from the fallen beasts, some from the cadets they couldn't save. The ship's engines hummed steadily as it broke through the planet's atmosphere. Tarek sat slumped against the wall, his armor scratched and burned. His eyes kept drifting toward Kara, who sat calmly across from him, cleaning a deep cut on her shoulder with a strip of cloth. She didn't look tired. She didn't look rattled. She looked like someone who had seen worse and expected more. "How are you this calm?" Tarek finally asked. Kara didn't look up. "Because it's not over yet." Tarek frowned. "What do you mean? We're off that nightmare rock?" Kara glanced out the window, watching the dark world shrink below them. That was only a scout. Grook. Something sent them. Something bigger. Tarek shivered. He didn't want to believe it, but deep down, he knew she was probably right. Back at the academy, word of what happened spread fast. 4 survivors. Kara leading the fight. Dozens of beasts killed. Cadets whispered in the halls. Some called her a monster. Others called her a legend. Most kept their distance. Even the upper-class cadets, who once looked down on her, now stepped aside when she passed. The instructors didn't speak about it openly, but everyone knew what it meant. No one had ever returned from Gaver 9. No one, until now. And it wasn't Luck. It was Kara. In the command tower. Commander Razik stood before a table full of ranking officers. "This proves what I've been saying," he growled. "Deathworlders aren't like the others. They're built for war, for survival. Where elite squads failed, one Deathworlder stood alone." An officer cleared his throat. "The beasts on Gaver 9 weren't natural. We believe something's controlling them." Razik narrowed his eyes. "Then it's time we find out what." He tapped a command console, pulling up a file. Kara's to be prepared for another mission. The room went silent. "Commander," one officer said carefully, "she's still a cadet." "She's not a cadet anymore," Razik replied coldly. "She's a weapon." Kara returned to her quarters late that night. She dropped her blood-stained jacket onto the bed and sat by the window, staring out at the stars. She didn't need medals. She didn't want titles. She was a Deathworlder. And Deathworlders didn't fight for glory. They fought to survive. And when they survived long enough, people started to remember their names. A soft knock came at the door. Trek stepped in, carrying 2 mugs of steaming tea. "I figured you wouldn't sleep either," he said. Kara took the mug with a quiet nod. They sat in silence for a while. "You know," Tarek said slowly, "back home they tell stories about people like you. Warriors who could stare death in the face and not blink." Kara smirked. "I've stared worse things in the face. I believe it." He hesitated. "They're going to send you again, aren't they?" "Yes. And you'll go?" Kara looked at him. "Wouldn't you?" Tarek let out a breath and laughed softly. "Not a chance. But I'll be damned if I let you go alone." Kara raised an eyebrow. "You sure about that?" "I survived Gaver 9 with you. Might as well keep my luck going." For the first time, Kara allowed a real, honest smile. "Suit yourself." Elsewhere in the deep, black corners of space, a shadowy figure watched a flickering screen. Images of Kara's fight on Gaver 9 played over and over. The figure's cold, reptilian eyes narrowed. "She's here," it hissed. "The Deathworlder." A clawed hand reached for a communicator. "Prepare the next trial. She must not reach the homeworld alive." The screen faded to black. The Deathworlder. Legacy the next morning. The Academy's main deck buzzed with quiet tension. No one knew exactly what was happening, but they knew something was coming. The order was clear. A new threat detected near the Academy. Unidentified ships moving fast. No time for backup. The instructor scrambled, prepping defensive positions. Cadets were ordered to shelter in the barracks. All except for one. Kara. She was already suited up, strapping on her boots and fastening her combat knife to her belt. She didn't ask questions. She didn't hesitate. Tarek appeared at her side, a rifle in his hands. "You're really going out there alone?" he asked. Kara smirked. "You're here too, aren't you?" "Yeah. But I was hoping I wasn't the only fool." She gave him a nod of respect. "We'll hold the line." The Academy trembled as the first enemy ship landed on the outskirts. A dozen figures emerged from the smoke. Tall, twisted creatures. Half metal, half flesh. Not beasts this time, but soldiers. Engineered killers. The cadets watching from the windows knew it was suicide, but Kara didn't care. She stepped onto the field, the enemy commander. A monstrous figure with dark armor and burning eyes pointed at her. "That's the Deathworlder," he growled. "Take her down." The soldiers charged. Kara sprinted forward, closing the distance faster than anyone expected. She slid beneath the first attacker's weapon, drove her elbow into its throat, and twisted, a sharp crack ending the fight. Tarek opened fire from cover, picking off 2 more. The battlefield was chaos, but Kara moved like a storm, fast, sharp, deadly, every move precise, every strike fatal. The Academy cadets watched in disbelief. They'd heard the stories after the Apex Predator fight. They'd whispered about Gaver 9. Now they saw it with their own eyes. A Deathworlder wasn't just a soldier. A Deathworlder was a force of nature. One attacker managed to slam Kara against a wall. For a moment, it looked like she might fall. 201. She smiled. The creature hesitated, confused. At 204. Its head hit the ground, cleanly separated by Kara's knife. Commander Razik watched from the control tower, a slow grin on his face. "Told them," he said quietly to his officers. "This is what happens when you unleash a Deathworlder." The enemy soldiers began to retreat, fear replacing their confidence. Tarek ran up beside Kara. "They're pulling back." Kara wiped blood from her blade. Good, I'm just getting warmed up. The Academy's alarms fell silent. The battle was over. The field was littered with bodies, smoke, and scorched earth. But the Academy still stood, and Kara was still breathing. The cadets poured from the barracks. Stunned, no one cheered, no one spoke. They just stared at her, the girl who had stood against monsters, predators, and soldiers, and won every time in the aftermath. Commander Rozic made one final order. From this day, he announced to the gathered Academy, Deathworlder Kara is no longer a cadet. She is now an officer of the Galactic Defense Fleet. The crowd erupted in whispers. A legend had been born. Tarek clapped her on the shoulder. Guess you're stuck with us now? Kara allowed a small grin. Wouldn't have it any other way. That night, as the Academy settled under a calm sky, Kara sat by the window in her quarters. She wasn't after medals. She didn't fight for titles. She fought because someone had to. And because Deathworlders didn't run. Somewhere out there, more dangers waited and she was ready because now the galaxy knew, never underestimate a Deathworlder. End of story.